Hello and welcome back to my channel, and this video is going to be a compilation of all of the seasonal weeding technique videos that I did for Dwr Cymru's Pest Smart campaign, and I uploaded the individual videos over on my Instagram, which you can check out linked in the description. But this video is a compilation of them all, so that if you wanted to see each weeding technique video all in one place, then this is the video to watch. Before we get started, why not go down below into the description and check out Dwr Cymru's Pest Smart campaign for more information on using less pesticides and herbicides in your garden. And while you're down there, why not hit subscribe on my channel as well. So this compilation will start off with the spring video, then we'll go into the summer video and then the autumn and winter videos. But I'll have put little clips in with the season written on so that you don't get a bit confused with all the techniques. But that's the order that I'm going to go for, is spring, summer, autumn and then winter. But you'll see the text as it goes through the video. Now enjoy the compilation, and I hope you pick up some tips along the way. So today is obviously the spring video, and spring is definitely here. There's lots of signs in the garden. There's blossom in the trees, there's seeds growing, there's flowers flowering, bulbs coming up, or a lot of bulbs have finished flowering in fact, because it is late April now, so there's a lot that has happened and there's still a lot to happen in spring. For in between rows, you can use a stirrup hoe, and just go between the rows, but sometimes, like with these onions that I've got, that's not always very practical because the gaps aren't great really for getting a hoe through without damaging the other plants. So what I'd do in this scenario is I'd probably pluck them out by hand, early, little and often, so when they're small seedlings. So another thing you can do this time of year is actually before you start planting, which is what I've done in this bed here, is I've put down on top of the last year's soil level. I took all the weeds out and I put some cardboard down from a big package that we had. I put that down and I wet it with a watering can, and what this does is it softens the cardboard, which means that roots and things like that will infiltrate it easier, and it'll also just mean it'll break down a bit quicker. And then I put some compost mulch on top of that, and what that did then is it means I can plant straight into the compost, and then the roots will find their own way through the cardboard below, and the cardboard won't let any of the weeds in the older soil come through, and the fresh compost shouldn't have many weed seeds in it anyway. So this reduces the amount of weeds that will grow that you'll have to deal with. And today I'm going to be speaking to you about some good techniques for getting rid of weeds in your garden without using any harsh chemicals that are more tailored towards summer conditions. So the first technique I'm going to highlight is using a stirrup hoe, or you can use Dutch hoes. There's a few different variations of the hoe. And this one is probably my favourite actually, because as you push it along, it's got that motion. So if you push it forward, it'll be like that, and then if you push it backwards, it'll be like that. So it's always got the perfect cutting angle. And what this actually does is it cuts through the bottom, it leaves about that much root at the bottom. It cuts through the bottom of the roots of the weeds, and this is perfect for in the summer, because if you do this on the morning probably of a hot, dry day in the summer, you don't even have to pick the weeds up off the ground. If you just go along and you leave the weeds on the surface, the sun will dry them out and then they'll rot down on the surface, and this will add organic matter back into the soil. Because in the summer everything's growing very quickly, it can be nice just to forget about some parts of the garden and let some weeds grow wild. For example, in my rosehip hedge behind me here, I'd actually let some of the nettles grow out. One, because it's good for pollinators, things like butterflies like the flowers, and also some insects like to lay their eggs on the leaves and others like to eat it as food. So it's just good to have things like that in your garden, some bits of wild areas, so letting the weeds grow wild, because it's good for pollinators, and it also keeps some of the pests away from your vegetable garden or flower garden. This one is the autumn techniques video. A lot of these techniques will overlap, so you'll have to forgive me there. So obviously part of preparing for winter and autumn is putting plants that are vulnerable to the frost and the cold and the elements into the greenhouses or into cover for winter. And in here I've got my dahlias and geraniums and any pot plants that I want to try and best keep over winter. You can also use some more organic mulches, such as this hay here that I've got, which was my wildflower meadow that I cut, dried out a little bit at the end of the summer, and I mulch it over the top of this bed, and now that'll also serve a similar purpose. There's some weeds still will grow through, as you can see from some of the B-roll clips I'll be putting over this. There are some dandelions growing through, but it will keep a lot of them out, and it will warm the soil up. And actually this will add something that compost bags don't, is this will break down and add nutrients and organic matter back into the soil. And today is my winter weeding techniques video. So the two main techniques I'm going to highlight in today's video is mulching with compost, because this is a great way of feeding the soil ready for the season ahead. So for when I'm planting in a few months, I'll be mulching my beds with compost, homemade compost as well, which is much more eco-friendly because you don't have to deal with the plastic bags from buying it from a shop. But also putting shop-bought plastic bags from compost over your bed to mulch it and block any light out. I highlighted this in my autumn video as well. And I'm going to do this just because it blocks the light out and heats the soil up a bit, ready for planting in a few months. So I'm just going to demonstrate in this small patch here. So what I've got here in this bucket is just some homemade compost that I've just gotten out the compost bin there. Simple as this, you're just going to put a good trowel full, or you can do it more easily on a bigger space with a wheelbarrow or a bucket, just chucking loads on and then raking it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put at least 2 inches over the whole bed, and what this will do is it'll block some of the light out. So obviously some weeds will still grow through it, but it's not going to be as much because it'll block a lot of the light out, and when you start planting then there'll be less nutrients and things available to the weeds, so it'll just slow them down a lot so you don't have as much to deal with. So I hope you enjoyed this compilation of seasonal weeding technique videos which I did for Dwr Cymru's Pest Smart campaign over on my Instagram. For more information on using less pesticides and herbicides in your garden, why not check out Dwr Cymru's Pest Smart campaign website for more information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.